welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guest this evening is Old Saybrook First Selectman Carl Fortuna. Carl, welcome.
Pete, always a pleasure.
Carl Fortuna, how are you?
We saw each other last at the Chili Fest.
We did. We saw each other not long ago.
Which, by the way,
yes.
the Chili Fest this year was a rousing success. They probably had their biggest crowd ever. In fact, I know they had their biggest crowd ever.
They did have their biggest crowd ever.
And huge success for the Old Saybrook Chamber.
Yep.
They give money away for scholarships. So it was a wonderful event, and it was a beautiful, crisp, late winter, early spring day.
It was.
And people were dying to get out. Did you see the lines for the chili?
Yeah.
The lines. I mean, we sold out. The Selectmen's chili, we ran out of chili. Like
really?
An hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so
I can imagine that.
Really great. I'm really happy for the chamber because we've had some bad weather too.
Oh yeah, because right after the event, right after the Chili Fest was over, I was tapped on the shoulder by Bob Bradley to help him count ballots, which took a while.
Yeah.
And then they made their.
So let's talk about the Chili Fest for 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, we can talk about the Chili Fest for a half hour. That would not be a problem. But what I think we should probably also do is talk about the town of Old Saybrook.
Okay.
So obviously, for people that don't know who Carl Fortuna is the first selectman of the town of Old Saybrook. And how long have you been first selectman there, sir?
4.5 years now. Three elections.
3 elections, okay. You like it?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I do. You know, you feel like you can make a difference. You can, through consensus, make a difference in the town, hopefully push some good projects forward. I think the town's made a lot of strides on capital projects over the last 4.5 years. That needed to be done, and the good news about that is I don't see a lot of capital projects to come over the next 5 to 10 years. So we are in a declining debt scenario, which is great for the town, especially with what's going on at the state level.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't want to be, I tell you, if I were in a situation right now where we're either going to the market or bringing on a new school or a police department building like we did 3 years ago.
Right.
It's a scary situation. That's what's going on at the state level, and you really just want to hunker down, I think, right now, and try to prepare for what's to come, because none of us know what is to come at the state level right now.
Exactly. Now, as far as the state, what's going on at the state level, how does what's going on up in Hartford affect a small town like Old Saybrook?
So it affects, I'll tell you what, we're not the smallest town, obviously. We're 10,000 people. It can have a much greater effect on much smaller towns.
Really?
So let me give you an example.
Sure, please.
The Connecticut state budget is $20 billion, give or take. Okay? What everybody's been hearing about lately is the cut in educational cost sharing grants. Okay, that's money that the state gives to every town in the state of Connecticut, and they give it to the amount of $2.07 billion. So out of a $20 billion deficit state budget, the state, there's $2.07 billion that's in educational cost sharing grants.
Okay.
What the governor's budget proposed a couple weeks ago was a cut of $50 million of the $2 billion. So very little.
Okay.
Very little of the educational cost sharing grant was taken away, but it was taken away for a lot of towns in Fairfield County, and then Old Lyme, Westbrook, Essex, and Old Saybrook. Okay. And Madison lost all their educational cost sharing. Now the town of Old Saybrook. Wow. Sorry, grab my microphone.
That's
there.
okay.
The town of Old Saybrook gets about $1 million total from the state, about $600,000 in education cost sharing, and about another $400,000 or $500,000 in other state aid for roads, just for other services. A smaller town, like the town of Killingworth or Durham, Killingworth gets $3 million, Durham $4 million, because they don't have the industry.
Right.
They rely on their property tax base, residential property taxes. So I believe over the years it's developed that some of these smaller towns actually get millions and millions of dollars. And the town of Old Saybrook only gets about $500,000, $600,000 in education cost sharing. So ultimately, a cut like the governor proposed may end up hurting the town of Old Saybrook less than if eventually the cuts become more drastic and deep over the next coming years as the state faces greater deficits. You know, we were talking about this before the show, Pete, but when you think about it, the state of Connecticut is projecting a $2 billion deficit on a $20 billion budget in 17-18 and 18-19. 10% of the budget is out of whack. And that is going to continue on for the next 3 or 4 years. They're trying to make some changes right now, but I don't know what's been proposed is going to get us out of that mess over the next 2 to 3 years. I'm not only concerned as first selectman, I'm concerned as a citizen, just like you're a citizen of the state of Connecticut. You work hard, you pay your taxes.
Totally.
And you just want to see, you just want to live your life. You want to do well. You want to do your TV show. I want to do well by the residents of Old Saybrook.
Exactly.
And yet we have the state that is an absolute mess. And I am very concerned about what may or may not go on over the next 2 to 3, 4 years, because the deficits are staggering. I want to say one more thing.
Go
and I'll
for
let
it.
you
No, go for it.
I'm in a monologue here. But
That's okay. Go for it.
and it's not just Governor Malloy's fault. Okay, so I'm a Republican. The governor's a Democrat. People might expect me to say, "Oh, this governor, this governor, this governor." Let's be fair.
Right.
This is a problem that has developed over the last 10 or 20 years because the problems that Connecticut is facing are pension costs and health-related costs for their Tier 1, they call them Tier 1, Tier 2 retirees, and they're paying health insurance for these people for the rest of their life. You know people who work for the state of Connecticut. I know people who work for the state of Connecticut. If they stay and work in the state of Connecticut for 10 years, they get health insurance for life.
Right.
That didn't happen under Governor Malloy. That happened under John Rowland, that deal with the unions.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, you know, in fairness, some of these structural problems have developed over the last 10 to 20 years and should have been properly funded at a level where we would not be in the mess we're in right now. My criticism of the governor, perhaps, and the legislature is when the governor came in, he said, hey, I'm going to pass the biggest tax increase in Connecticut history, and it's going to solve our problems. Well, it didn't. Then we passed another large tax increase last year, and they thought we were going to be out of the woods, and we're worse than ever.
Exactly.
The state passes and you can talk to your state reps and state senators, and I'm sure you'll have them on this show.
Oh, yeah.
We are in the first year of a biennial budget. We're in the first year of a 2-year budget right now.
Right.
And this budget is going to be $1.5 billion out of whack.
Right.
This is a budget they passed a year ago. They're making their third fix to the budget in 1 year, in the first year of a biennial budget. It's worrisome because the towns don't run their operations like the state has run their operations, okay? We don't. We balance our budgets. We have Old Saybrook has a low mill rate.
Yep.
We're responsible in our funding. We fund our pensions. We fund our health care. We give good benefits. But we also try to be fair to our taxpayers. And I'll tell you what worries me at the state level is how it's going to trickle down to the towns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really concerns me.
And what are some of your concerns? I know we talked a little bit about, but what are some of your major concerns?
Well, I mean, you know, the governor is saying there'll be no new tax increases to settle this billion-dollar deficit. Well, guess what? When you push it down to the town level, it's inevitably going to result in tax increases.
Yes, it is.
You know, if the town of Old Saybrook is going to lose $750,000, it's hard for me to make that up in my budget that's already been approved by the Board of Finance. How do I eliminate $750,000 on a budget that's basically been approved? So, you know, I'm looking at a 3 or 4 year plan to address any deficiencies we may have in state funding. That number is yet to be decided, though.
Okay.
The one committee let's step backwards here.
Okay, sure.
Next year, starting July 1, 2016, the state is projecting a $930 million deficit.
Okay.
One committee has recommended for Old Saybrook cutting about $350,000. The governor's proposed budget proposed cutting about $750,000. So look, we're going to get cut.
350,000 or 700?
We're going to get cut.
Yeah.
We're not going to get all the money that we have been promised.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I am planning for the day when Old Saybrook can turn to the state and say, basically, it's okay, we don't need your money, just don't put your government mandates on us.
Exactly.
And there's plenty of those.
I was going to say, do you think that can happen?
Well, perhaps on the education side, if they eliminate education cost sharing,
Yeah.
I've already heard a lot of rumbling in the education community. If you're going to eliminate our funding, then don't expect us to go along with every mandate that you've passed over the last 30 years in education.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting argument. Bottom line is, you live here, I live here.
Right.
We love the state. We
yeah.
love where we live.
Right.
I think Old Saybrook is one of the most beautiful towns
It
that
is.
I've ever been in, with the river and where it meets the sound. We live in a low-growth state, and we live in a low-growth state. We live in a low-growth area.
Right.
Southeastern Connecticut is a little bit more challenged than Fairfield County, than New Haven, than Hartford County.
Absolutely.
And I look around, I see your staff, and I see these young people, and where are they going to go to get a good job when they finish up their internships, right?
Exactly.
I'm looking off camera right
That's
now.
that's okay.
But these are the types of people that you want living in your town.
Exactly. Totally.
And I'm concerned because we are losing that younger population because our cost of living is high. And where are the good jobs?
Right.
I mean, the best new jobs that are coming to this area are going to be electric boat, because they're going to build submarines for the next 10, 20 years.
Right.
But other than that, we're struggling. We're struggling in the area with job creation. Pfizer's moving.
General Electric is.
Well, General Electric. And again, a lot of people say it was the tax structure, and certainly I'm sure that was part of the reason. But I believe General Electric had been looking to perhaps get out of the state.
I think so.
3-4 years ago. Maybe there was a final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, and they said, that's it, we're leaving.
Exactly.
The suburban campus for corporations, I think, was a model community back in the 70s and 80s, but less so now. People want to be in the cities, and the corporations want to be in the cities. But in any event, so those are my concerns. Some of my concerns for the state level. Pete, between you and me, I don't know what the answer is.
Okay.
I really don't. When you tell a small town, I'm going to say Killingworth again. I'm not picking on Killingworth.
That's fine.
But they get several $1 million from the state. That would be devastating to a small community, whether it's Killingworth, Durham. 50. There's 50 towns like that in the state of Connecticut. It would be devastating for them to lose a lot of state aid, and nobody can tell me that it is not at risk. That money.
Well, Carl Fortuna, first selectman of the town of Old Saybrook, would you mind sticking around?
I'll happily stick around.
We'll be right back.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, sitting here with Old Saybrook First Selectman Carl Fortuna. Carl, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. So, Carl, I understand recently it was a very sad day on the shoreline.
Yeah.
I was wondering if maybe we can talk about
Yeah,
this before we go into the other pressing
Yeah,
matters.
the sudden death of the iconic Deep River First Selectman, Dick Smith. You know, in the previous segment, I used the terms Republican and Democrat a little bit.
Right.
But let me tell you something. When I see my other First Selectmen, I don't know whether they're Republicans or Democrats, because we're all doing the same thing.
Exactly.
We're all just trying to run the towns the best we can.
Right.
And do our best for the taxpayers. And nobody did that like Dick Smith.
That's right.
Did I know Dick was a Democrat? I did.
Yeah.
But did it matter? No,
No.
because he was there for me.
Right.
When I came into office, he wanted to help me all the time. He would call up and check in on me and say, how you doing? You need anything? You need any advice? He was a true gentleman.
Oh, he's a great
guy. I went to his wake. And I stood in line for an hour.
Yeah.
And when I came out, the line was longer than when I went in. And I think every resident of Deep River
was
probably ended up going to that wake, as well as so many people from all over the state. I saw the governor there when I was there. And I tried to get to the funeral the next day, but I couldn't get in the church. That's how busy it was.
Okay.
You know, I had been in a meeting with him a week or two before that, talking about a couple things in our regional health district, which Dick Smith was very instrumental in forming several years ago. Just a great guy, a great loss.
Yeah.
You know, Deep River is going to go through a period of time right now where their identity has gone out the window a little bit for the moment, but they'll find it again in whoever they choose to move forward with. And I understand that Angus MacDonald is going to be the first selectman up there. That's
excellent. Yeah,
I thought.
Right.
But yeah, very sorry to lose Dick. Tragic
guy.
loss, sudden, and did you know him?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
I had Dick on with me. Yeah. One of the most when I was taping with Comcast in Clinton. This is going back a couple of years. I had a First Selectman roundtable. It was me, Dick Smith, Willie Fritz, and
I'm not going to be able to help you with this one.
Yes, you can.
What town?
Saybrook.
Oh, Mike Pace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was the five of us, and we just had the best time because it's like we're all sitting around the table having a having a conversation for a half hour, and it's like just sitting around talking to all your friends about this, that, and the other thing.
Big loss, and so many of us felt it. But you know, I knew him as a colleague.
Right.
I didn't know him. You know,
personally,
I didn't have a beer with him now and then, but he was well loved.
Right.
And he'll be missed.
He will be missed.
Big void to fill.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something that you and I are both very familiar with along the shoreline, and I know you're probably involved with being the first selectman, River Cog and Sam. I had Sam on with me not long ago. Talk about a very, very interesting guy.
Sam, so maybe a lot of people don't know the acronym.
Right.
The Lower Connecticut River Council, Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Government.
Okay.
So you're, so the 16 towns belong to the Council of Government in the Lower Connecticut River Valley. It goes all the way up to Cromwell, goes to East Hampton, Durham, all the way down to the shoreline, Clinton, Lyme, Old Lyme. And Sam Gold's the executive director there. We brought him on about 6 months ago, and Sam has been an excellent executive director. And you're going to need one in a time of change because they are largely funded. A lot of their funding is by grants.
Right.
And if some of those grants dry up, it's going to be challenging times for the COG.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things a COG does is it, as a subset of the COG, the Council of Government, we have a Metropolitan Planning Organization, an MPO.
Okay.
There's lots of letters and acronyms that go on in government.
All right.
And the MPO is where a lot of the federal transportation, all the federal transportation money runs through.
Right, sure.
So for instance, our rebuild of North Main Street.
Yes.
So North Main Street from Route 1 to the train station. In other words, the road that the monkey farm is on.
Right.
I think people are going to know it a lot better.
Exactly.
When I
The
say
road
that.
the monkey farm's on.
We're going to rebuild that road
Yeah.
with sidewalks and lights, sidewalks on both sides, lights on both sides. And the idea being that people are going to be able to get off that train or live in those apartments, and they're going to be able to walk right to Main Street, do some shopping, have a drink, go out to dinner. So the COG is where the federal money flows through, and that's where we're getting that money from. It's federal money.
Right.
So you really have to belong to one, number one,
right, exactly.
anywhere in the state. And they serve an important function, but I'm not sure that our residents know exactly what a COG is.
Exactly.
And I've written articles in the newspaper about what the COG does. They try to do regional activities at using their staff so the towns don't have to use their staff.
Exactly.
So one of the things we're going to do, in fact, it was verified today through Sam Gold at the River COG, is we are going to be doing a transfer station study. And we're going to be doing that with Haddam and Durham Middlefield.
Okay.
They have one transfer station up there. And we are doing a study as to operations, how best to run it, governance. Are we gathering our materials effectively? Are we getting enough money for our materials when we resell our recyclables? Right. Is the layout of the transfer station effective? Is the staffing effective? So in Old Saybrook, and I don't want to get too off topic here, but the transfer station in Old Saybrook is basically, as they call Waterbury, the center of the universe.
Right.
People campaign at the transfer station.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very popular spot.
Oh, yeah.
And we are looking to make it run better. A lot of you may not know, or you may not know, but our transfer station sits on an aquifer. Which is not the best place to put a transfer station. So we have to take great care with our transfer station, and we're not moving our transfer station, but we need to run it better, and we need to make it safer.
I was going to say, what are some of the better changes that you want to see?
Right now, when you go there, it can be a little bit of a free-for-all, and it's not the employee's fault. It's the layout of the transfer station.
It's the way it's laid out.
It was identified as the piece of land where we decided we were going to have a transfer station 40 years ago.
Okay.
And the town has grown up a little bit since then.
Right.
So there's a little bit more activity up there.
Right.
And we just want to make it run better for the next 40 years.
Exactly.
But that's one of many things that a COG does. It helps us. They did an RFP on that project. So they did a request for proposals. And we got the proposals in. We're about to award a contract.
Very nice.
But that's one of the things that's going on, and we have a lot more going on in town. I think there's good economic investment going on in town.
And one of the things that is going on in town that I'm sure you're aware of, and I was aware of the other day, was the brand new parking lot over on North Main Street. Very nice.
Yeah. So
very nice.
So look, that area of town.
Yes.
When you were over there, you saw the apartments going up too.
Yep.
So there's 186 apartment units going up there.
Okay.
And the whole idea behind that is transit-oriented development.
Right.
So people can park their car, hop the train, or live in those apartments, hop the train. They
Go to work.
Go to work.
Come home. There you go.
Come home, and they can walk everywhere.
Right.
It's the idea. And another idea is to try to draw millennials, younger folks,
correct,
and older folks,
right,
people who don't want to own a home anymore, and would like to live where they can walk to all the accoutrements that the town of Old Saybrook offers.
Exactly.
And still get to New Haven for dinner if they'd like to, going on Metro North. But that parking lot, I think, was a big deal. It's 199 spaces.
It was.
And I think it will draw, people it's going to be very easy parking.
Right.
When you go to Old Saybrook. So I am hopeful that people are going to say, hey, let's park in Old Saybrook and catch the train. And
Exactly.
when they get back after catching the train, what they're going to do is say, let's go get dinner on Main Street.
Exactly.
That's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is rebuilding North Main Street to make it easier for
Right.
you to walk from that parking lot when you get off the train to Main Street. And the other idea is to have all those units there, 186 units, to have a critical mass of people who are going to live and work, hopefully, downtown. Right. You have that, and I think that is all going. The North Main Street should get rebuilt this year. We're hopefully going to put that out to bid in the next month or two.
Very nice. And once it goes out to bid, what do you think the completion will be? A couple months?
Yeah.
Year?
I would say no. Better not be a year.
No.
No, a couple months. Probably the fall season is what we're looking at for a
right.
rebuild of North Main Street.
All right. We got to talk. We got a little bit more time, so we're going to change topics right now and talk a little bit of politics.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, me either. We know nothing. We know nothing about a presidential election happening.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Primary tomorrow. That's right.
You tell me this is going to air
Yep.
Tuesday?
Yeah, this will air Tuesday, and we'll everybody, if you're a member of each political party, you have a primary tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. No unaffiliated.
That's right. That's right. And there.
So here's a little anecdotal
Yes.
treat for you. My registrar of voters said 26 people came into town hall today to change their party affiliation.
Really?
Now, my personal opinion of what's going on there, a lot of them changed to Democrats, by the way. The majority did.
All right.
From unaffiliated
Right.
to Democrat. And why is that, Mr. Mezzetti?
Because if you have to be a member of a party to vote tomorrow.
Yes. That, but I also think it's because Bernie Sanders.
Right. I think so.
I think it's that enthusiasm.
I think so.
You know, whether you support Bernie on the D side or Donald
Right.
Trump on the R side, both those folks have engendered a lot of activity in the parties. And people are, I had another gentleman come in today who's unaffiliated, who switched to Republican, I think, so he could vote for Donald Trump.
There you go.
So yes, I support John Kasich.
Okay.
There was an article in the Hartford Courant where I was openly supportive of Mr. Kasich. I think he's a brilliant man. I think he's a great administrator. He has the experience to be president. It's unlikely that he will be president.
Right.
Highly unlikely.
Exactly.
I
Well,
support him. I will vote for him.
Carl Fortuna from the town of Old Saybrook.
That's
I want to
it.
thank you for coming down. That's it. Hopefully we'll have you on again.
Thank you, Pete.
We'll see you soon.
Good
On
to
behalf
see
of
you.
Carl Fortuna, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next week.